Hi, I'm Bunny Spooks. When you sleep, do you dream? And if you do dream, do you have good dreams? Or do you have bad dreams? Or do you have really weird dreams? Well, tonight's story's not fiction at all. It's a dream diary by an artist named Mel Paradise. I wonder what kind of weird things we'll find in the subconscious mind of an artist. There's only one way to find out. Prepare to be spooked. I hadn't dreamed, or at least remembered many dreams in a long time. Around this time in my life, I'd started on some new medications and started having more dreams. Since I'm an artist, I thought it would come in handy to start a dream journal to pull inspiration from later. Most of the dreams are more bizarre than scary. Maybe that's just me though. Anyways, here are the entries so far. Maybe you can pick something out of them. February 18th, 2018. Just glimpses of dream locations that I have seen a couple times before. There was a riverbank or mostly dried up creek. I remember walking through some crunchy leaves. Off in the distance I could see the smoke and hear the sounds of many small explosions. No idea what they were. There was another part of this dream where I don't remember any imagery, but remember the feeling of authority and power switching hands. After that, I was in a tall building. I don't remember anything from that part of the dream, but after that, I was in an abandoned seaside arcade, which would come to be a recurring location in my dreams. February 19th, 2018. I only remembered bits of the dreams. At one point, was on a roller coaster that was partly in this weird mountain-like structure. The next part of the dream, I was trying to count how many pills I had in a bottle, and every time that I counted, the number was different. This went on and on for a really long time until I got really frustrated and woke up. February 21st, 2018. The first part of this dream takes place in my old apartment. In this dream, two girls, aged probably late teen to early adult, broke into my apartment through the back patio. They were just sitting on my couch in the back. I screamed at them to leave, but they didn't say much. There was a knife in my hand, and they suddenly looked upset, but they still wouldn't move from the couch. One of them shouted something at me, but I just shouted back, "This is my place, get out! You don't fucking pay my rent, you've got some fucking nerve! I didn't want to have to do this, but you're not fucking listening to me!" I brought the knife down into the leg of the girl sitting on the left. She didn't really react, but the girl on the right made a face that showed shock. They still didn't move, so I stabbed the one on the left again, once in the leg and then in the arm. No screams, no blood, just shocked looks from the both of them. I kicked open the door that had been previously just ajar, and they got up and ran out. I could hear screams as they left, as if they were the screams of the previous moment delayed. They came after, distant, echoing and then fading. There was a second dream that night. We were in the same dead forest with the crunchy leaves from before. I don't know who was with me, but we were running from something. No idea what we were running from. It was a short dream. February 26, 2018. Someone was holding a cat. They told me it was going to be in a cat show and they wanted to show me how soft its fur was. The cat extended its paw, or arm, or weird furry appendage, but it was disproportionate to the supposed cat. I never saw the cat, in parentheses, clearly. Its arm and paw were fluffy, kind of fuzzy, but like in a freshly well-groomed dog sort of way. A too long, weird, fluffy arm reaching from the void to be pet. I pet it. It was soft. Just as I was about to ask the breed of cat, the person looked at me without saying anything and the dream ended. I remember having a second dream that evening, but my phone woke me up and I don't remember any of it. March 3rd, 2018. I was sharing a flat, I think, with someone in a downtown district off of a train track. The train in this dream kind of reminds me of the coaster or tracks I saw near the abandoned beach park, but this place seemed much farther away from there. In this dream, there was a girl who was following me. She creeped into my room one day and decided to stay. I found her and screamed at her to get out. Like the other girls in the other dream, she wouldn't listen. No one believed me when I told them I didn't know this girl. Eventually, I tore her out of bed while she was laughing at me, and I threw her to the ground, and I punched her in the face. Among screams, I bashed her head into the bedpost. She screamed and begged and said, "You're just like the others." And I'm here thinking, it's scary to think that I'm not the first person they'd done this to. This enraged me. In my rage, the nature of this reality began to change. The girl no longer had regular weight. Things started getting floaty. I kicked her out into the hall in one powerful kick. She slid down the wall in a slump. I proceeded to kick her ass silly up and down the hall and out the front door and into the middle of the street. Some people saw this happening but didn't seem to care. This weird chick is now a mangled pile of bruises and blood in the middle of the street outside. Some patrons from the bar across the street come out to see what's going on. As if they've seen nothing, they turn around and go back into the bar. I stand there looking at her for a moment, then, as if by magic, she stands up, bones crackling back together, still bruised and bloody. She runs away in the opposite direction of me, the bar. She was smiling. It creeped me out, so I called a couple friends to let them know what was going on. When they got to my place, I remember apologizing that the owner of the space refused to change the light bulb in the front room. It was scary and dark, and I was low-key worried about the creepy girl popping out from one of the places I couldn't see. The friends, as tends to be the case in these dreams, I have no idea who they were. Dream friends, I guess. We decided to head for the bar across the street. Before I do, I get the crazy idea that if I break the bed into parts in the room, she won't return. The only part of the destruction I remember is striking a large piece of wood against the side and thinking, this bitch got in my comfort space, before everything shattered at once into wood chips. Something stranger happened though. Some of the chunks of wood had attached themselves to me. Not like dust and chips and stuff, but like whole pieces of wood. I tried to take them off, but it wasn't like you had glued it. They were on there by some kind of force, like really strong static electricity or a gravitational anomaly. And I was just this big mass of a person in wood pieces, like some weird fucked up Katamari or something. Only when I began to walk did the pieces of wood begin to fall off. I made my way back to the front room, pieces of wood still falling off, as the friends and I walked across the street. We entered the bar, which housed the light murmur of patrons, except for there were only like 3 dudes and none of them were sitting together. They all had mostly full pint and were glued to the game, a glowing screen above the bar. We entered the kitchen. I don't know how or why, but we were running in this part. The kitchen was way too big for such a small bar, but whatever. When we exited through the back door, we were back in that deadish forest from the other dream. In the distance, we saw the convention center. We forgot about the girl and we went there instead. I know that we eventually got there, but I don't know what happened after that. March 12th, 2018. There are some people arguing about some stupid shit from the past. I excused myself because I didn't want to be a part of it. I found a small pond where one might fish. I didn't have a pole, just string, a hook, and bait, which was a gooey mass at the end of the hook. I saw a shadow in the water. I got excited and decided to take a look. What I saw was both cute and beautiful. As I got closer to the water, I looked into it and I saw a strange fish. It looked small, but I couldn't exactly tell because dream water doesn't act the same as water in real life. It can distort things with its properties. It looked like it had a long, slender face like that of a swordfish, but with the body of an eel. The water was black and green, so it must have been black and blue in color, with spots of lighter, almost neon blue, tracing its outline in some of its scales. It looked like a creature that in any other dream I might try to talk to. But what I came here to do was fish, and so that's what I did. The fish swam over fast and it bit down on the hook. The fish must have been smaller than it had looked because as soon as it did, the hook punctured past the gills. As I pulled it up, I could see the fish transforming into something uglier, like a frogfish, and its guts started squishing out of all of the holes in its body. I then heard an unknown voice shout, "What did you do?" The ugly dying fish, now a pile of goo between the pond and my feet, like a bad special effect. The rest of the dream was about me trying to mediate the argument between the two lost causes, neither of which were worth my time, interspliced with more scenes from the abandoned beach park. March 13th, 2018. My mom and sister and I were living in what appeared to be a very cramped apartment, or Japanese-style house, or condo thing. I don't know. There were small halls and cubby spaces connecting tiny rooms. The place was crammed wall to wall with stuff. Lots of colorful junk. Clothing, posters, shapes not really having any meaning, but everything was all shiny, shimmering almost. I was made aware that we were watching it for someone and that it was rent to buy. At some point, I went through an opening that opened into a patio and a front yard. I thought it was a neighborhood-like building that was attached to other structures, but as soon as I stepped out of it, the yard was vast compared to the space I had just been wandering through. From the porch, I examined the yard, starting at the back, where the ground texture ended and gave way to a big dusty place. There appeared to be lumps in different sizes, small dunes, and what might be described as unfinished stone structures. As my eyes trailed down from the back towards myself, things started to take more shape. Rocks, small pools of water, and what appeared to be the top of a squid, only it looked like a sculpture made out of lava stone. Then I noticed that that's what all these mounds were. Different sizes of these squid-like statues, or at least that's what I thought. When I looked at them closer, they were all consistent in their look, just different sizes. They were all dispersed throughout the yard, some intertwining, even some with tentacles in and out of the ground like tree roots, as though they'd once been moving organically through the air and ground but had been frozen in place. I thought they looked cool, but as soon as I had that thought in my mind, I got a very ominous feeling in my gut that suggested that these creatures actually exist in this world, that these were living creatures lying dormant in the world's weirdest Zen garden. When I looked back at the largest one, a large dead eye half submerged in the ground, it was kind of sideways to the left and had many smaller squids on and around it. It towered over me in size and I became a little bit scared. The statues never moved, not at any point showing that they were alive. Not even when the ground's opacity started pulsating, or maybe it was water? Either way, there was a pulsating sound and the ground kind of faded in and out, revealing more of the structures under the ground. They still didn't move. I decided that I shouldn't focus on them for too long, so I went to go feed the fish in the ponds. They were more like rock crags or crevices, like tide pools. They reminded me of some I'd seen in another dream near the beach location. The fish were nothing special this time. Then I went back inside. Nothing else happened after that, though I did recall passing by a container in the hall which had a couple of frogs with some water in it, decorated with plants going up the left side, intertwining with sparkly, colorful ribbons and kawaii kabochans. The same night I had another smaller dream. My mom, sister, and me, and my sister's kid were at the convention center in the bathrooms getting ready for something. As soon as someone took their eyes off the kid, he got snatched up by some creep. Kidnapped. It bothered me more that my mom and sis seemed indifferent to the situation in the dream. April 10th and 11th, 2018. 2 nights I had fractions of dreams. The first, we were in a wet forest or marsh, walking when all of a sudden a giant serpent lifted up out of the water. It was huge. So big it towered over us, bigger than any of the buildings in my city in waking life. I briefly saw its face before it lifted up past the trees. I remember being startled, but not necessarily scared. It was so big, I think we were too small for it to care to eat. I woke up before anything else. I think we just continued walking after that. The other dream I had was about a ginger root I was growing in real life, except in the dream, it began to grow rapidly and spewed out a big, hairy, tentacle-like arm, something between plant and animal. It was more unnerving than scary. The arm kept trying to get close, but wasn't aggressive. Kept moving towards me like a creepy, messed-up plant puppy, making a shaky ch-ch-ch-ch noise as it did so. Creepy. December 7th, 2018. I had one of those in-between dreams where you start to wake up but then drift off back to sleep again. In this dream, I was in a dilapidated room with vaulted ceilings, so I'm presuming it was an attic. In the middle of the room, there were breaks in the floorboard where there was a patch of soil. There was a hole in the ceiling letting some rays of light onto that spot. Among the must and dust in the attic, which speckled like glitter in the light, there sprouted a single mushroom, just soaking up some rays. He seemed happy, just there. The whole dream had this yellowish-orange hue to it. The feeling I got was inviting, and that was it. March 12th, 2019. I haven't dreamed a lot in the last few months, but recently I started on a new medication and I've been remembering bits and pieces, so instead of trying to remember the dreams that I didn't write down, I'll give you some random details that I can remember. I've been seeing some recurring locations. For instance, the beachside amusement park connects to another building that looks like a small casino or resort hotel. The convention center is a common occurrence, though I'm not sure where it is in relation to the last location. Once I was in a coffee shop, presumably close to it, by some train tracks. Here are a couple of other repeating locations. A neighborhood and some shady hills, which feels like it's close to an aquarium-type park I've seen in another dream. In this area, I once had a dream we'd got invited to a party, but we declined. In the same location, there was a concert venue where I missed a show by one of my favorite bands. There's also a small mountain, maybe even the same one as the theme park dream, or at least I've seen something like it in that area. Like, when approached in one of the theme park dreams, this mountain has many caves and passages, and some places too narrow to get through. Why am I being shown this again? Does this mountain move, or is this the other side? I once tried to sketch out a map of the locations that show up more than once, but dream logic's not that simple, so it was a fruitless effort. For now. March 19th, 2019. I remembered part of a dream this morning. I was speaking with someone, I don't know who, and they told me that I needed to find a golden egg. I don't remember all of what was said, but they made it sound like it was gonna be a big ordeal, like a quest or something. Then I responded, but it's right there. We were standing in a cluttered, dimly lit room with boxes, lamps, etc. Another attic maybe? A big golden egg sat perched upon the boxes. Also, I thought it looked kinda like a balloon. I walked over to it, I touched it, it was weightless, and it dissolved into ashy dust. That is all I remember. March 23rd, 2019. This dream is actually from a few years ago, and I had made art of it, but it was before I started keeping a journal, so I'll recall it now here because it was so bizarre. I was in someone's house, not sure who. There was a warm-looking living room with an old rug, sun shining through some smoky beige curtains, and an armchair in the corner. Sitting on the armchair was a purple woolly narwhal. I mean, it looked like a narwhal, but it was the size of a large dog with woolly, almost dreadlock-like hair covering its whole body. Had a horn and everything. It sat there for a moment, then bouncing off the chair like a sea lion might do, it bounce-waddled its way over to a food dish. I went closer to it to see what it was eating, and it was large pieces of popcorn. The creature opened up a big wide eye and began to cry, and I felt sorry for it. I asked the man who was suddenly standing in the doorway, "Why is it crying?" And he responded, "'Cause we're out of dog food." And then I woke up. Well, it looks like that's where the entries stop for now. What's the weirdest dream you've ever had? Leave it in the comments below. And if you have a weird or spooky or scary story you'd like for me to read on this channel, send me an email, bunnyspooks@gmail.com. Spook you soon.